Welcome, everybody, to this 12th night first group call. I really do welcome everyone who has come on today's call. And you all answered the Clarion Call a few days ago, where I invited you to sign up so that we could create these Zoom meetings to create solidarity, support, and to communicate at a time when the communication is being dominated by mainstream media. So this is a forum to allow independent thought, views, ideas, content, but also your personal stories and maybe some of your struggles and what you're going through at the current time, so that we can support one another through this turbulence. So 12th Night is hugely symbolic. It's the 12th night of the Christ Mass festival. It's the day when the three wise men, having followed the star of Bethlehem, arrived with gold, frankincense, and myrrh to anoint the Messiah, to recognize Jesus as the Christ. And Messiah, the word Messiah, and thanks Victoria Groom, one of my friends who's part of doTERRA, thank you for letting us know that Messiah means the anointed one, or he who is anointed with oils. So this is hugely symbolic. And that story of the Nativity, where the shepherds came because an angel appeared to them, and the wise men came because a star appeared to them, what it's really speaking to is being really tuned into the metaphysical realm, because the universe is speaking to us through signs and symbols the whole time. So our job is to tune into them and to create that place of stillness where we can be divinely guided and move from that 0 point to inspired action. So the way that this call is going to run, I'm going to do a short presentation, and I'm going to look at some of the metaphysical themes overarching what is going on. And then in the second half of the call, we're going to come to each of you, where you can each have 2 or 3 minutes to share your views on what's unfolding. And then we might get into more what I'd call 3D realm content of the gritty reality. And of course, Boris Johnson spoke last night and put most of the country, I think, into a new tier, level 5, which essentially is a lockdown, once again without parliamentary approval. Anyway, we can reserve those 3D, the gritty detail and reality, because I want to go to a higher level to start this call, because I feel that this is working at 2 levels. There's a higher metaphysical level, the invisible, and then there is the material realm, 3D, gritty reality. And it's important for us to have one foot in both of those realms. So I'm just going to start, and I'm going to open this a bit like a ceremony. I'm just going to invite you, just so that we can drop from our mind into the heart, into our body, just to take 3 long, deep breaths in through the nose and blowing slowly out over the bottom lip, like this. So 3 of those breaths, and that is one way that you can really calm the nervous system and come back into center, into that 0 point center. So I'm just going to read an invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out. and may it seal the door to where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. And that is the great invocation. And so it's very symbolic that here we are on Twelfth Night, on the final day of the Christ Mass. And that invocation, may Christ return to earth. I don't feel, and many other metaphysical, spiritual teachers don't feel that that is one person. They feel that this is an awakening in consciousness. And I strongly believe that what is going on right now, this descent into hell, it is creating a mass awakening of consciousness. And as you probably know in life, sometimes God takes you to your knees before you open to him or her, whatever, whoever your God is. So this is behind the trauma of what's going on. There is a great gift. I sent a link to Paul Levy's amazing book, Dispelling Wetiko, Breaking the Curse of Evil. It's a fascinating deep dive into the nature of evil, and it comes from both a Buddhist and a shamanic perspective. And what Paul Levy basically explains in this book is that evil is a non-local entity which is looking for cracks, for rifts, for trauma in the between the dimensions to work its way up, a bit like rising damp in your house. And it's looking for traumatized people or unconscious people to work through. And so when we talk about the nature of evil in the context of what is unfolding, we're not necessarily labeling people as evil. We're just recognizing that evil, Wetiko, is doing its deeds in this material realm. And so when the great invocation speaks about sealing the door to where evil dwells, what it's talking to is a healing of all of those cracks, a healing of all of that trauma, so that we can create a container in this dimension which is so strong and so filled with light that there are no doors for the evil to come through. And as you know, if you hold that space of light, then that extinguishes the darkness in itself. So I want to talk a bit about the nature of evil. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so evil. And of course, you know that I've done videos and I mentioned about spelling, the secret spells of the English language. So evil is a very interesting word because it is the reverse of the word live. So by its very definition, when you take the ability, the right to live, and you turn it on its head, you reverse that, by definition, that is evil. So the next word, there are many words I could have come to, but I've just chosen 9, which I feel summarize what we're dealing with. What does evil feed on? It feeds on fear. And certainly when you listen to mainstream media and see what is being pumped out, what is being done is it is creating fear and terror among the people. And the antidote to fear is, of course, faith. Now, many of the spiritual people and the soothsayers and the gurus are saying right now that things like prayer and meditation aren't just a nice to have occasional thing that you do when you've got time. They are the thing that is going to allow us to keep our sanity through this, because when we come into prayer and meditation, literally that is the symbol of prayer. It's coming to the heart, coming to the center. So every time you pray, the symbolism of prayer is literally coming to the center and coming back to the heart, doing those breaths, dropping from the mind into the body. I strongly recommend that whatever your faith, and I'm not talking about religion here, so whatever your faith, whatever your belief system is, that you devote a lot of time coming back to that center place, that place of 0 point. And you'll know from my videos, I also spend an awful lot of time out in nature, in Gaia, because it's so much easier to come to 0 point when you're in the forest, when you're by the river, when you're walking in the fields. And just to underline this point, I just want to read to you. Now, this is an interesting one because I'm always watching for signs and symbols. And interestingly, I had a secondhand Bible in my bookshelf, which I don't even know. I'm sure I didn't buy it. I don't know where it came from, but I picked it up the other day and noticed that there was something inside it. And it was a bookmark, which is the 23rd Psalm. And I thought, aha, that's a sign. And I'm going to read it to you because it underlines what I've just said about faith. Please don't have an allergic reaction if you're not into Christianity, because there are all sorts of, I am totally into faith and fascinated by all forms of faith in every shade. So please don't feel that I'm just trying to do some kind of religious Bible bashing thing here. It's not my intention at all. So here we go. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So that's a very powerful and soothing prayer. And again, you have a reference in there about having your head anointed with oil. So this is essentially saying that we can all be the Messiah. We can all be the Christ consciousness or the Krishna consciousness. But we have to keep moving from fear to faith. And that's why it's very important to be in the body, because when you feel that trigger, that fear, that contraction, you know that you've been pulled off center into fear. So you can use the breath and come back, drop into the heart, drop into prayer, just tune back in, come back into faith. Okay, the next one is dissonance. Now, I've talked about this a lot, that God is love and love is a perfect harmonic resonance. In the beginning, God said, let there be light. Sound came first. I learned that from Barefoot Doctor. Sound came first. In the beginning, God spoke and said, let there be light. Sound came first. God is love and love is a perfect harmonic resonance. So what is being created is dissonance. And dissonance creates dis-ease. And dissonance and dis-ease eventually show up in physical dis-ease, in ill health, in sickness, in viruses, in deterioration of the body. And that is why sound healing is such a powerful remedy. So it's very important to realize at the moment there is a lot of dissonance deliberately being created. And so it's very important that we create harmony. And there are so many groups now, and my son is a sound healer, musician, spending a lot of his time just playing music and singing and being on Zoom calls and being in ceremony, just creating harmonic resonance. Because when we create harmonic resonance, those waves of harmony, they emanate out and they counter the dissonance that is being created. Okay, despair. Huge amounts of despair being created. I mean, this has been going on for 9 months now. And not everyone has the techniques to be able to hold their center, to keep motivation high. There are a lot of people falling into despair. And one of the things I mentioned the other day, there's a great Planet Lockdown video with Pam Popper, who's an expert in the medical sector in America, questioning the medical tyranny currently going on. And she was speaking to the fact, the statistic, that 25% of teenagers, young people in America are considering committing suicide. Things are at that level of despair. So in place of despair, what we have to do is keep creating hope. We have to keep focusing the vision on the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, division, divide and conquer. This is another one, divide and conquer. And you'll know how much division is deliberately happening right now. And it's been happening over the past few years. Brexit or Remain, blue or red, Biden or Trump, masks or not masks, vax or anti-vax. This is all about division. And what we need to create is unity consciousness, coming back to oneness and seeing the oneness behind this constant desire to divide and rule and divide and conquer, and turning the people against the people, because when you're fighting one another, you miss who the real enemy is. And this is how evil works: divide, conquer, division, polarity. We have to be aware of what is being created. Okay, so if you know about the metaphysical laws of evil, everything is hidden in plain sight. So if you look at all of it, I'm not saying the Masons are evil, but I certainly believe that a lot of the metaphysical laws that the Masons understood have been used for evil purposes. That's why these metaphysical laws were originally held in secret societies, because they were so powerful. And they didn't want people to get hold of the metaphysical laws, because they knew what a great temptation it is, once you know the metaphysical laws, to use them for evil purposes. And of course, The Secret, if you've ever read that book and that DVD, when that came out, what did everyone want to do the first thing when people read The Secret? Oh, how am I going to get a Ferrari? What can I manifest? How much money can I get? This isn't the purpose of understanding the metaphysical laws. The purpose of understanding the metaphysical laws is to transcend the delusion of the 3D duality realm and to connect to the higher levels and to align to source, to that Christ consciousness, and not just to align to it, to ultimately to be it, to live it. And that is true enlightenment, and that is purification. And we're all on a journey of purification, attempting to be love, not just send love or give love or look for love, but to actually be love, to be that perfect harmonic resonance, so that we can create that energy, like as Christ did, wherever we go. So that is one of the reasons why I'm looking for the opposites here, because these are the antidotes. So instead of being hidden in plain sight, let's be open yet invisible, which is why I asked you when coming onto this call to create an avatar. Very definitely part of this big tech, big pharma piece is AI. It is facial recognition. I spent 18 months mentoring a client in the world of AI. I got very, very deeply involved, and what is going on is scary. And this isn't in the future. This is right here, right now. This technology is right here, right now. It just hasn't been rolled out yet because it needs 5G, it needs Internet of Things, and the pieces aren't quite in place. But this is what is coming. Command and control via AI, drones, machines. It won't be by police officers. It will be by digital surveillance. So this is what's coming. It's already happening in China. So I've spoken out live, and I've put my name and my face to my beliefs, and many others have, but let's not make it easy for them. So that's why I'm inviting you to be open yet invisible, and just to create an avatar. Just think about this. At that point when the AI policing comes online, boom, at the flick of a switch, anyone who is identified as disagreeing with the system can be tracked, traced, and immediately clamped down on in some way. So we have to be really aware of what is unfolding. And I don't want to create fear through this. I'm just being realistic and knowing what I know about AI and what's coming. Okay, so another big part of this evil is this triggering into hate. And so, of course, wherever possible, we need to move from hate to love. And I don't know about you, but I've certainly been subjected to huge amounts of verbal abuse and hatred, pure hatred, from people who have very angrily attacked me through violent communication. This is what it is, violent communication. If you know anything about nonviolent communication, you will know how much violent communication is being generated right now through this division. This division is creating a lot of hatred. So we have to counter that with love. And of course, the logical conclusion is war. And wars have been raging, you know, since time immemorial. And that place of I'm right, you're wrong judgment, we have to transcend that now. We have to, in my humble opinion, we have to stay strong in our no. But war and fight and battle, it's not the solution. We cannot fight the world right. We cannot solve this problem with the same energy that created it. So we have to create peace. And that is that part of that stillness. And all of this evil, fear, dissonance, despair, division, hate, war, ultimately ends in death, which brings us back to the beginning. That what this is about is life. And one of the things that I feel that we are all truly feeling right now is that we would prefer to fully live, even just for a few weeks and a few months, than to live for years in this lockdown, despairing, isolating, depressed state of existence and just about surviving and scarcity. So what is unfolding is really asking us to move from quantity to quality. What is the kind of quality of life that we want? And do we want to live in fear of death? Certainly in my journeys with medicine, in particular ayahuasca, I've gone through my own death. And my experience of death, when I surrendered and let go, and I moved through the fear and the terror that I was about to die, when I surrendered and I let go into it, I shot straight to source, and it was the most magical, enlightening, amazing experience of my life. And for that reason, whilst I love to live and I love life and I wish to be in this material realm plane for as long as I possibly can, and to see my sons grow up and to see them have grandchildren, to be a grandmother, equally, I'm not frightened of dying, and I'm certainly not frightened of being exterminated through speaking out. And so when we transcend the fear of death, that is when we truly start living. So I just want to end that little summary with another amazing piece, which I've also heard sung during an ayahuasca ceremony, which absolutely brought home to me the truth behind the words of what I'm about to read. And when I finish this, then I will come back to the screen view, and I will come to each of you, and I'm going to select you at random. So please be ready to come on the call and share how you're feeling about what's unfolding, your insights, and maybe if you're suffering right now, please share that too. This is an open forum, and we are here to listen and create a safe space to support you in whatever's happening. This is Jerusalem. And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountains green? And was the holy Lamb of God on England's pleasant pastures seen? And did the countenance divine shine forth upon our clouded hills? And was Jerusalem builded here, among these dark satanic mills? Bring me my bow of burning gold. Bring me my arrows of desire. Bring me my spear, O clouds unfold. Bring me my chariot of fire. I will not cease from mental fight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. So I'm getting emotional saying that. But of course, Jerusalem that we are being called to create is on this planet, is on planet Earth. And I could go into Revelation and what it speaks to about creating a new Jerusalem, but I truly believe that we are in those times of revelation, and there's much, maybe that's a theme that I will explore on a later session. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to come to you. Let's see who we have on the call. And wow, that took about half an hour, about half the call. Here we go. So thank you everyone for having the tenacity to come on to the session. And we've got 2 pages full. And I'm loving all of your beautiful icons, your unicorns, your guinea pig, mandalas, beautiful birds, Jack Russell flowers. So I'm going to start with Shiatsu Love. And just asking you to unmute one by one. Now, you don't have to come live on the call in terms of your video, just in your audio, unless you want to speak on video, which is fine too, because I just want to come to as many people as possible and give you each a few minutes just to speak to what is going on, what's unfolding, your feelings, your observations. So let's come to Shiatsu Love. I'm going to ask you to unmute. Hi.
Hello there. Hello. Thank you, Rachel, for holding this. So very, very grateful to you. And hello, everybody on this call. Well, where can I start? Really, just a couple of days before I saw your post, Rachel, a few like-minded friends got together in the park with our children and decided that we need to come together and sort something out. And then, a day or two later, I saw your post and I thought, fantastic. So very, very grateful to you, Rachel, for putting this together. Well, let me start by, let me just say how frustrated I've been feeling, and I'm sure most of you are too, because, people that we all know and love in our families generally are not seeing the big picture. And I've been posting and sharing all sorts of stuff to people, and very, very little of it is actually getting through to people. And it's getting a little bit despondent and almost feeling, where are we going to head from here? So, this is so positive. I'm just so pleased to be here, really. And thank you again, Rachel.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And yes, that is the thing, isn't it? It's like we know there's a problem, but what do we do about it? And This is one of the reasons why I shared in the video inviting you to come on this about that hexagram, the I Ching hexagram number 9, which is the taming power of the small, because a big part of this is uninstalling the programs which say millions of people have to get it, everyone has to get it. I don't believe that for a second, because nature is showing us that in the smallest seed, like in the tiniest acorn, is an entire forest of oaks. It doesn't have to be big. We can work from the yin wood of that hexagram number 9 is wind over heaven. And it's a very powerful hexagram about the taming power of the small. So do not underestimate the power of small groups. I mean, look at the story of Christ himself. Through his crucifixion, he changed the entire face of the entire planet. And that was without YouTube, social media. It was literally just through his holding that. So yes, we have to keep that faith and that light. So thank you for coming on and sharing. I'm going to mute you back and let us come next to I Hope, which is the star. I don't know who you are, so I'm just picking at random.
Thank you, Rachel. Really lovely to be part of this group. And I'll try not to discuss the fourth and fifth dimension, which would be lovely, but we'll stay in the third dimension. In terms of sort of where I'm coming from, last year my husband and I had to close down our business because of COVID, and we had to make 30 people redundant by Zoom, which was one of the worst days of my life. As an ex-director of an international market research company dealing in data and statistics, I cannot understand, looking at the government's own data, how they are arriving at the decisions they are in order to close down the country. So my husband and I have crawled all over the ONS data. In the winter of 2017 and 2018, we had a bad flu year. We had 50,000 excess winter deaths. And that was just in England and Wales. So that didn't include Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that was just winter. So if you took out the 40,000 deaths that we had from COVID before when we hit winter, we say, let's just say we've had 35,000. We're nowhere even at this 50,000 figure yet. So we didn't close down the country then, we didn't vaccinate everybody, and we didn't consider it a major disaster. I mean, every year the NHS has a problem, and we can all remember every year they've always got people on trolleys in corridors. And I don't believe that the number of deaths at 0.2% of the population requires the scale of measures that are currently being played out. We're losing our liberty, our freedom, our children's education, people's jobs and careers. And why? All to save the NHS. And it's not for any other reason. The death rate is too low to close society. More people die of cancer than die of COVID. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Please don't get me wrong on that. But I don't think we should be closing society to prop up an institution that's been underfunded for years and has lost half the number of beds over the last 30 years. We need to live alongside the virus like we do with flu and open up society again. You know, we all want our education back. I'd actually enrolled to do a diploma in nutrition because I thought, well, I've lost my business. I'm going to retrain and I'm going to do something positive. Now everything's online. We want our democracy back. We didn't vote in Nerve Tag. We didn't vote in SAGE. We didn't vote in the WHO. We haven't got democracy and we've lost our liberty. We want our liberty and our freedom back. And I just so hope that there are some lawyers out there somewhere that are going to mount some opposition to some of this undemocratic stuff that's going on. We can't even hold a protest at the moment. Not that I'm necessarily suggesting we all go on one, but we can't even do that at the moment. We're under house arrest currently, aren't we? So yeah, I just find it so depressing. So I have to just keep on concentrating, meditate every day and do some positive things.
Yeah. So thank you. And I'm so sorry to hear about your business. I'm a business mentor, and I know from speaking to many people in the world of business, there is so much despair. I've spoken to this before on videos. The people behind this are capitalists, and there's a big difference between capitalists and business, because 99% of businesses turn over less than £1 million. And what is going on here is a power grab. And I shared the David Icke's New Year's summary, which was a very succinct roundup. I've also shared the Planet Lockdown, a couple of those documentaries which really do speak to the bigger picture. And when you start understanding the bigger picture of this global power grab, which is going on, which has got 5 pillars: big tech, big pharma, media and communication, controlling the media and communication, the military and all of the infrastructure like 5G. And then the 5th one is financial, which is driving us into cryptocurrency and crashing the world's economies. When you understand the much bigger picture, you realize that we are being bulldozed down a master plan route, and mass vaccination is a key part of that. And the big problem they have is the number of people who don't want the Frankenvax. That is a major fly in the ointment, which is why they've had to turn up the heat and they've had to turn up the lockdowns. It's like, you're not going to get out of this until you take the jab. And once you've taken that jab, and God knows what's in that genetic engineering, but my guess is there is something which is about subduing or removing your ability to question, speak out. There's something about subduing your fighting spirit, shall we say. And if you watch the Netflix movie Human Nature, the documentary, it explains in detail CRISPR technology and how they can genetically engineer to create all sorts of modifications in humans. This is very, very scary. And if I was to advise one thing throughout this, do not, under any circumstances, take this vaccination.
Agree completely. And as a trainee nutritionist, I would absolutely agree. You need to be informed about what's in it. And if they can't tell you what's in it, and if they're not even publishing the data, which I know you had from the CDC, which is available.
It's absolutely shocking, isn't it?
It's shocking.
This is the interesting thing, is that there has been not one word on mainstream media like last night about reactions to the Pfizer vaccine. The statistics suggest 14,500 people are needing medical care because of the Pfizer vaccine. Not one word about it. There's a cover-up going on. That's why they've needed this second, more lethal coronavirus, in my humble opinion, because they need to create a cover-up for the fact that the vaccine is creating a huge adverse reaction.
Agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad that we're on the same page on that.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for coming on. Let's see who else I'm going to come to the unicorn. So wonderful to see unicorn there. A unicorn that has not got a chain round its neck and is tied to the royal coat of arms, and the thing that we see on the government, everything the government issues has got a unicorn with a chain round its neck. So unicorn, do you want to come and share with us?
Yes, I'd love to. I didn't have a huge amount of time to think of a name and think of an avatar, and unicorn just popped right into the front of my consciousness. So I went with that one and then found this one. I thought, that's lovely. That's a really pretty unicorn. Yeah, I'd just like to echo everything I Hope said, and everything that you have been saying and bravely sticking your head above the parapet. For the last, I would say, 2 weeks, I've been saying to the small group of friends I have who are on the same page, we have to start sticking our head above the parapet now. We cannot just let this roll on, because this is headed in a very, very, very dangerous direction. And I've been joining lots of dots. Lots of different bits of media have kind of slotted into place in the last 2 weeks for me. And I've gone, oh, right, that's what that means. Oh, got it. That's why they're doing that. That's why they're using that phraseology. And all the little bits of the kaleidoscope are starting to form a pattern. And I think that we need to keep it local. I think you're absolutely right, and I think we need to keep it small. I think there's no huge value in trying to create a great big monolith of a movement. I think that it has to be done at a sort of granular level. And I think the key to that is pooling our skills and resources. And I'm really interested to hear that I Hope has a background in data and market research, because the one thing that we are, all of us, so short of is data, is information, and for most of us having the skills which you have, Rachel, to really dig down. I mean, I've done little bits and pieces of it, but sums don't come naturally to me. Words do, but sums don't. That's what I would love to see, is us saying, okay, let's choose one set of data. Let's really dig into it, pull stuff out, and then localize it, so that we, among the people that we know, and even the people we don't know. I mean, it could get as basic as leafleting, putting things through people's letterboxes. You may maybe put out 1,000 leaflets, maybe 10 people go, oh my God, I didn't realize that. And then suddenly you start opening people's eyes. And that's what I feel we need to do. I mean, there's no point in sitting and gazing at our own navels and saying, oh, this is absolute total shit show. What are we going to do? We have to do something. And we have to, as you say, keep coming back to center, not engaging with because I was being bombarded with stuff last night and just going, I don't understand why these people can't see they're being played. But then you have to realize that they can't see that they're being played. And it's not my role to shout at them, you're being played, because they won't hear me through the fear and the fury.
Yes.
And so we have to find ways of, as you say, bit by bit sealing the door where evil dwells. Incidentally, I love the Great Invocation. I was introduced to it through pranic healing, where it's one of the pillars of the meditation side of that. So I find it a really, 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 really powerful invocation. And I've now taken to saying it at least once a day because I think it's that important. But yeah, I think it's a combination of us as individuals remembering that we're part of something bigger, that we are part of a wider consciousness, to overcome our personal fear of death. Because once you've found a way of dealing with that, anything becomes possible. Mm-hmm. And then pooling our resources, keeping it local, and doing all we can to break the narrative. I think that's all I need to say.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Unicorn. Just love that picture and your name. Very inspired. And yeah, I truly believe that is why we're not allowed to gather. That's why pubs are closed, because they don't want conversations. They don't want people to talk. And people have been coming to my house and they've saying, Rachel, can I pop over and have a chat because I'm out walking, and can I pop in for a cup of tea? And I've said, yes, of course. And we sit around the table and people get it. It lands. It's so much easier when with a face-to-face conversation than on the net.
Yeah, I'm also finding that when I'm out dog walking and you start having conversations about something else, usually starting with dogs, and then it kind of leads on. And you kind of circle around each other. I'm sure we've all had this experience. You circle, and then when you realise that there is there's a chink there, and then you kind of drop something in, and then suddenly the floodgates open, and you discover somebody else who's on the same page. But precisely because we cannot meet, and we are discouraged from we can't socialise, we can't meet. We are being very restricted in how we can harness that power.
Absolutely. I just want to also just quickly add in here just how clever and subtle and dangerous this communication is, because I was following Twitter and Sky News tweeted a doctor saying we're really, really busy in ICU, and someone sent that to me as the justification of, you're telling lies, you're creating death, you're creating disinformation. Look, this is what the doctors are saying. So I looked at this doctor who had tweeted this information, and I noticed that he's part of doctors.net.uk. And I thought, I wonder what doctors.net.uk is. So I went to their website, and it's a network of doctors. And then I went to their terms and conditions, and I looked to see who owns doctors.net.uk. And it's M3 brackets EU Limited. So I did a company search on M3 brackets EU Limited and found that they're a subsidiary of M3 Inc. in America. They're a digital marketing company working on behalf of the pharmaceutical sector. So, this is the thing, that most people are taking this at face value. They're not scratching beneath the surface and realizing that doctors.net.uk, its parent company, exists to promote the messages of the pharmaceutical sector. Big Pharma is making billions of pounds out of this. And if they can make vaccinations the norm, that is just money flowing for years and years and years. I mean, I always look to follow the money as a business person, and I'm knowing how the capitalist sort of alpha male mind works. And I'm afraid to say that whatever these sources are, whatever the journals are, you scratch the surface and you find they've all been bought up by Big Pharma, and they're pumping out propaganda. Okay, so anyway, enough of me. I want to come to you. Let's come to the beautiful psychedelic lion, who is Truth and Transparency.
Hi there, Rachel, and thank you, everyone, and thanks for showing up, Rachel. It's been great tapping into your videos and listening to your insights as always, and appreciate this sort of forum for us to congregate here. So, really feel for the person who, all of those who've lost their businesses or going through, so many people going through the different challenges that they're facing, financial or family or health. And just a couple of things, sort of a couple of reminders that are over the kind of period of Christmas and being on a retreat over New Year, just really reminding that things only exist when we give them energy. So, Dr. David Hawkins' calibration, we've got peace and love and gratitude and joy up at the top end, and right down at the bottom, fear. And that is where the whole of the narrative, that's exactly what they're playing on. And I mean, we know this, but just a reminder, and as the last person just said, thank you, reminding what Zach Bush said, once we've overcome our fear of death, which is what they're playing on totally, if we can overcome that, what are we really worried about? And it's only empowered when it's given energy, like all of the mainstream media, all of the narrative. What I've just realized is everything is just an energy game, right? So for me personally, and realize this quite early on, thankfully, is just, right, what's taking my energy? What's feeding my energy? Which people, which information, which platforms? And just really being mindful of just limiting. Obviously, we need to touch in to see what's been said. But I've realised, I'm not giving you power. I'm not going to feed you with my energy, and I'm not going to allow you to feed on my energy. And Laurie Ladd, I know many people are listening to Laurie Ladd, and she's been a great light throughout this, these past 8 months for me personally. I know for many others, but one of the things that she said over kind of the solstice and the new year is, this is time for us to step up, as you are doing, Rachel, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you for being vocal, whether it's having those one-to-one conversations or the small groups or even bigger, but not just to sit as a bystander on the sideline. And just another thing just that I remember came to mind as well was sort of Mother Teresa when she was asked to march against the war, and she famously kind of said, I won't march against the war, but when you walk for peace, I will lead you. So that real reminder that what we resist persists. And rather than going into, we may have to go into battle, spiritual battle, but really, what are we standing for? And just shining the light for truth, as you're doing, for transparency, putting the numbers with good people such as yourself who can analyse numbers, and just ask the questions: why are you hiding this? Why are you censoring great people, scientists, academics, accountants, lawyers? If there is nothing to hide, then we should have democratic debate, and you are stifling it, which only demonstrates that all is not as you would have us believe. Yeah. So thank you for showing up and for sharing. And sorry, the final thing is at 4:00 today, New Earth Project have got an expose on Anthony Fauci, which I believe could be quite a big card from the House of Cards, which may be pulled this afternoon if they get traction and they're allowed to actually show that and not be censored.
Yeah, wow. I'll look out for that. Yeah, Pam Popper did an amazing Planet Lockdown talking about medical tyranny, and she had a lot to say about Dr. Fauci, totally in the pocket of pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
So thank you, Truth and Transparency. And
thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Rachel.
What wonderful souls we have showing up on this call. I'm so grateful to you all for having the tenacity to be here. I'd love to come to to Butterfly Bird, the orange, beautiful orange and blue birds.
Hello, Rachel.
Hi.
Lovely. Hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you for hosting this, Rachel. So I've personally been on my own journey of truth really over the past predominantly 6 months, which I think has strengthened me at my core to withstand this storm, and also use my voice as a force of good. I feel like I have a lot to say and a lot to give. However, I don't think now's the time to peel back those onion layers right now. So I think it's inevitable that this is going to collapse. I'm not too sure when. I don't think anybody can speculate when. But I think in order to assist that, we have to build the new systems. These systems need to be born. And I think this is where we ought to focus our efforts on the collective. I left my very cosy job in information security back in December for a multitude of reasons, but fundamentally it was to make my skills available to those who need it and to take part in the many humanitarian projects that are in flight across the UK at this moment in time. And I'm sure there are many people like me sat there right now who are sort of struggling with, going to work, working in a job that may be imprinting a lot of these practices, a lot of these unlawful guidelines onto people. So, but for me, at that moment in time, and I think this is what a lot of people are struggling with, is, where do they go? Who do they turn to? Which is why I think it's critically important that we start building the new.
Yes, absolutely. It was interesting. Someone sent me a PDF about Ubuntu, which is a concept of a new way of being on the planet. I haven't read it yet, but I just really agree that we should be breathing life into these new possibilities to create a different vision, a different reset for the world, which is not the one that is planned for us.
The message I really wanted to get across was just to spread a bit of hope, really. I'm sure plenty of us are on the technological battleground. A lot of us are sharing content and resources and trying to help people help themselves. And I've personally felt a sense of defeat at times, where I felt like no one was listening. That feeling of being in a room and you're screaming at the top of your lungs, but no one is hearing you and no one's engaging with you. So from my experience, I just want to let everybody know, just when you think nobody is listening, they are. Over the past few months, I've had people who don't appear to acknowledge my posts, not even like these posts, but then go on to send me direct messages. Sort of wholeheartedly agreeing with my perspective, but yet these very same people are still too scared to even press the like button. Share it. And I'm not out for the likes. I'm just out for getting the message across, no matter how crazy I may seem to some. That's my message.
Fantastic. Thank you, Butterfly Bird. I'm going to mute you back there. And it's the interesting thing, isn't it, that so many people can't speak out. So because their only employer is basically the government. So if you're a nurse or a doctor or a policeman or a teacher, it's very difficult to speak out, even an MP. So there's so many people who are locked into silence through the fear of losing their livelihood. I'm going to keep going because I'm loving this and I want to capture as many people as possible. So I'm going to come next. Let's choose someone else. I'm going to come to Guinea Pig.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. Guinea Pig. You have not, obviously, we're the guinea pigs. You don't have to be the guinea pig for this vaccine because we're all the guinea pigs.
I'm glad you had the sense to know that. I wasn't meaning, it was just the last minute. The only thing I could produce was a picture of my guinea pig.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So I'm not a person of words, but I've seen the deception. I've been really aware of it since about 2016. My wake up was through the medical industry. I came from a mainstream medical family. I had some very significant so-called irreversible diseases in my life, two sequentially. When one was put into remission, the next one came, which was even bigger. And that was the one that starts with a C that you're not allowed to say that you can cure. But I found finally true science and left mainstream medicine and found that I could actually heal, profoundly heal, without any of the mainstream methods. In fact, it's required that you not, if you really want true, deep healing, and that it takes time. So that was my wake-up call, was when I realized that the mainstream model wasn't just an innocent error or getting it wrong, but actually it was quite sinister and it was quite deliberate. So for decades I thought, oh, they just made a mistake. So it was in great health and a great journey, crossing to the other side, so to speak, that I became aware. And I also was someone who was, for most of my adult life, disconnected from mainstream media of all kinds. And that, I think, made it easier to see the masses, how they could be led, how they could be divided, how they could be influenced, how society is becoming, appearing to be dumber and dumber and dumber, and people run around retelling things that they hear, and in a voice of authority as though it's fact, without deep knowing. So anyway, I find that that connecting to nature and trying to live like a real human, that's very difficult in the modern world, but that seems to bring a lot of revelation, a lot of deep understanding, and whatever is out there in terms of the mystical realms, I believe that they must be accessible to us as humans without any knowledge of texts, of these wonderful ancient texts of the Bible, for example, and many, many others, that actually, if it is true, if there is deeper connection and understanding of higher realms, let's say, that one can find those without any exposure to great written works, but simply by connecting to Mother Nature and trying to live in a more human way. And I think my focus for some time as a way out of this has been, there's a part of me that does want to see the system fought, and that it would just be to take away their weapon, which I see as mass communication in the media, because that seems to be the outlet of all sorts of control, the stories that lead people to trust the wrong sources instead of themselves. And I think that if one can be independent of the food supply, that would be a great start, because if you can feed yourself, you don't need that much more. And if you're willing to let go of a lot of the comforts, if you want to, let go of your job and fiat currency, learn to feed yourself, form a community. This is what I'm trying to do. When you have the ability to feed yourself and no need for money, or little need, there's a lot of freedom that comes from that, and real living and wholesome living and joy. And I think that's just one way to make yourself more resilient and independent from the system.
Yeah, absolutely. Although it's taken to the extreme level, I mean, that's the world that we want to create for everyone, where everyone has prosperity and food security. And I know lots of people are talking about kind of retreating from the mainstream, but why should only a small proportion get to live that way? That's my feeling on it.
I'd like to see everyone looking at that. I mean, just from the point of view of everyone being able to feed themselves, and sort of, what would you call it, decentralized food system. I mean, that you can look your farmer in the eye, and that you have no need to go to the corporate food monopoly to feed yourself, but you're connected to your food because it grows near you, or you know the farmer who rears your food, or how if it's an animal, that you know how it lived.
Yes.
What went into it, and that it has nothing to do with this massive corporate monopoly.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Guinea Pig. And of course, that option to gather, even to go to church now, is kind of being closed off, and that's, I guess, one of the reasons for it, because they don't want us to communicate and to gather. I'm going to come to a couple more just to end now. I'm going to come first to Peacock, and then after that I'm going to come to Trust in the Universe.
Hi Rachel, hi everyone. Thank you so much for this today. I started the day quite miserably with a few tears when my granddaughter, who's 9, nearly 9, she went back to school yesterday, and she just texted me today and say, "Hey Nana, do you know the schools have closed?" So that was, she was so excited to be back at school. I was thinking about what I could share with you, and I've been on much the same journey as, a lot of people have already spoken about, and agree with all of the things that you're saying about. We've got to reclaim our sovereignty over ourselves and stop relying on outside corporations that are completely infiltrated and controlled with their narrative. We need to get back to our own sense of, who we actually are. Who am I? What am I doing here? All of those things. I've actually done quite a lot of writing recently, because I have this kind of urgent need to write things down and to leave as a kind of, grandiose way, but, to leave as a kind of legacy for my granddaughters, really. This is what truth looks like. So I've had, you know, I've got so many words going around in my head all the time that I just write them down now. And if it's in the middle of the night, I just write it down. And when I look at it again in the morning, I can't even remember what it was until I reread it. So I just thought I might just share some of that. So these words came to me the other night. Did you know how beautiful you were then? How beautiful you are now? Did you know how powerful you were then? How powerful you are now? Did you know how loved you were then? How loved you are now, and always and ever? And I just kind of did a bit of thinking about that, and I thought, you know, it felt like a message and a reminder from the ancestors, you know, to remind, you know, this process of remembering ourselves, putting ourselves back together, a reminder to live in the now moment and, you know, to let those things go that have happened in the past.
Yes.
You're no better or worse than you were. You've always been in wholeness, in the new moment, and remembering yourself. And as the shadows are bringing that surge of emotion, tears, waves in the solar plexus, tears that flow or prick, you know, accept the invitation to heal, invite the lost and abandoned part of your soul to rejoin. Offer no judgment, just observe your physical reactions and ask this part, is it ready to rejoin you and nestle into the soul it departed from? Perhaps, you know, from some extreme trauma when it left. Is it lost? Is it a lost and lonely wave wandering in absence? Is it time to rejoin the soul it was wrenched from? So I think, you know, this business of taking back our sovereignty, and Guinea Pig was talking about all those things that, you know, that we need to remember how to do, how to actually look after ourselves without all these outside influences and people telling us what to do and how to live and what to buy and what to eat and, you know, how much we should weigh and all of those things.
Yeah.
By the way, I've got 3 guinea pigs and 3 dogs. And I've forgotten the lady that was talking about when I go out walking with my dogs. Obviously, I, you know, meet the regular people, but if I meet somebody that get chatting to them and there's an opportunity comes up to speak some truth, you know, as much as they're willing to, you know, engage with or listen to, then that's what I do as well. And that's what the whole essence of this is, Rachel, isn't it? About, you know, the smallness, you know, and I feel that sense of frustration that I should be doing something and I don't know what it is. What should I do? So, you know, I find that the writing is helping me a lot.
You're absolutely right. And I thank you for that, reading out your beautiful words there, because this inner work, this inner healing, as we do the inner healing and do that soul retrieval, bringing back those lost pieces, we heal on the external level. So this idea that we've got to do it and fix externals is a bit of a red herring, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. And it takes courage, doesn't it, to 100% believe in your own truth, you know, the absolute concrete, absolute reality of what you believe. And it's easier to believe the general consensus because their beliefs are aligned, and it's part of our human nature not to seek conflict. You know, we crave accord with other people, don't we, and not discord. I think this is a huge calling to step outside the consensus, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, get away from, you know, the amygdala brain in us kicks in and it says compliance with the main narrative of the group is essential to the survival of each individual. How devastating would it be to be no longer part of the pack, but to be, you know, the outsider, the lone wolf?
No, we're creating a new pack here. This is the thing. It's like the contrast between, you know, this group, for example, and a group of people who are all in the compliance zone, all in despair and darkness. Where would you prefer to gravitate? So I suspect that the more we shine this light, the more it will attract people who are starting to think, oh my God, something doesn't stack up here. This can't be right after 9 months. The more we create these groups of light, even if they're tiny groups, the more that we will attract more and more who are getting fed up of living in the darkness and the dissonance and the fear. And then soon, boom, one day there'll be a critical mass where suddenly everyone makes the switch.
Right. And of course, your ego is saying, you know, is throwing in all these things, you know, oh, you'll have no friends, your family will disown you, you know, but I think that choices and sovereignty, they're not about placation, are they? They're not about, it's not the easy route. It is the route of trial and separation. You just got to keep that fear in check, really, the fear of the rug being pulled out from under your feet, sliding around, and it feels cold and hard and difficult to maintain your balance. But, once you're out in the blinking sunlight, rubbing your eyes for the first time, you can't go back under the rug. You can't put the rug back under yourself, can you? In your head.
It's like popcorn. Once it's popped,
right.
they go back.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Peacock. Thank you for coming on. And let's just end here because I'm just conscious of time. I know some people are leaving and having to go to other assignments and commitments. So let's come to Trust in the Universe as the last person that we speak to. Beautiful, wonderful Star of David mandala there.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you for organising this. My name's Dan. I'm an osteopath based in Essex. And like other people that have spoke, my, I guess, awakening comes from the realization of the medical industry being propped up by the pharmaceutical companies. Done a lot of deep research into vaccination before my children were born. So very strong in my views around the science that is very weak around vaccination in general, particularly one that hasn't been researched for any length of time. So I feel like I have to be pretty withheld with my views and my beliefs, because I feel very grateful that I'm still able to run the business. As a medical service, we haven't had to close the whole way through, although many people did cancel at the start of lockdown last year. But yeah, many people come in with very strong beliefs about how we all need to follow the rules more and things like that. And I have to just bite my tongue in that instance. Ironically, it is the only time throughout the whole thing that I've worn a mask as well, is for my work in my practice. Whereas, I'm in the supermarket without being the only one without a mask every week for many months now. I'm trying to shine my light that way. So yeah, it's just keep the faith. I keep the belief that the light will shine. Like yourself, I've had a couple of journeys with psilocybin in the last 12 months, and that's been very enlightening for me. Releasing fear and just that big message of surrender and letting go and trusting.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you for coming on and reminding us about that. Yes, just trust and surrender. It's two of the key words, isn't it, in medicine work? Yeah, we haven't even really touched much on masks, and that's another interesting thing around the whole AI facial recognition, because it seems that masks are going to become more apparent. They're now talking about whether we should wear them out of doors as well as indoors. And of course, this ties back into the AI facial recognition, because it's very easy to see who's compliant and who's non-compliant, as well as it being a part of the social engineering. So there's very definitely something going on with this mask wearing strategy as well. Oh, and Melody Soup saying color-coded masks are coming, blue for vaxxed and red for non. Wow. I mean, we can see where this is going, can't we, folks? This is part of all of the divide and rule strategy. Anyway, let's pull back from the detail, because we need to keep these calls coming and these conversations going. A lot of people are talking about how to communicate. I'm not a big fan of Facebook and WhatsApp, because they're part of the big tech. Also, Telegram is very clunky to do. I mean, there's already 600 people who signed up for these sessions, for these Zoom calls. And I can only imagine that more people will want to join. So what I am investigating, and if there is anyone listening to this who is on the same page, who is a techno wizard, someone who's in tech, who maybe wants to assist, because my feeling is that we need to create some kind of way that we can all register under an avatar and have these communications a bit like a Facebook. And there is possibly a system that I know of that I can attach into. I'm making some explorations on that front. But personally, I don't think that WhatsApp and Telegram are tenable when you have a group of so many people. I feel it needs to be something much more like Facebook, but just not Facebook. So I am working on that. And if anyone can help me and assist, then please do email me. If you put Liberty in the email title, it will go into a special email box. And I please ask you, and I love to hear from you and I love receiving your feedback, but please don't deluge me with emails, because I just don't. I mean, since I started going live on YouTube, I've literally had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails, and it's just, I can't even read them all, let alone respond. And it's a fine balance, isn't it? But let's try to find a way to communicate that is slick, that allows everyone to create a profile, which is an avatar, to share content, to share links, and to enable us to support and communicate. That is a like-minded group, where one of the things I really feel is that it should be by invitation only. So one person can invite another, so it's by recommendation. And that is the way to keep these groups pure, to keep the people pure, as opposed to having to monitor and control the content and it just being a free-for-all. Anyway, I'm on the case, I'm looking into that, but if you are in the world of technology, please do email me with Liberty in the email title. So sending you so much love, so much gratitude for joining me, and I will let you know when the next one of these Zoom sessions is happening. Lots of love. Bye for now. Bye-bye.